Welcome to Low Country Spotlight. I'm your host, Margie Pizarro. Listen, if you could be a fly on the wall before we actually go on air, you probably would just be LOLing and rolling all over the floor and all of that stuff, because we really do have a wonderful time in the studio. And so what we wanted to do today, we wanted to relax a bit. We wanted to have what I'm going to call the girlfriend edition of Low Country Spotlight. Now, if you're a guy, if you're a boyfriend, if you're a husband, that does not mean that you are excluded from this conversation today. It just means that be prepared, because we might be talking about you. We may be giving you some helpful hints and all that good stuff. So just sit tight. In the studio with me today is my very, very, very dear friend, Serena James. And you all know that she is our life coach. You know, she's our relationship expert. She's the woman that tells us how family life should run. You know, she's kind of like an around the way filet too, even though you don't see that all the time. I'm going to bring that out of her today. So Serena, welcome back to Low Country Spotlight.
Great to be back. And can I just give you a high five? Since the last time I've seen you, stuff has happened, but we kept our smiles. Yay, we're still smiling. That's important in life.
Yes.
Keep smiling.
Yes. And you know, before we went on air, we were talking about the fact, I'm just going to go ahead and put you on blast.
Yes.
You said, you know, I'm great from the ankle down. And you proceeded to tell me this long story about something you've got going on. And the interesting thing about this is we were kind of talking about show ideas, and it's the holidays. So I was like, well, girl, how you going to survive the holidays with an injury? Tell us a little bit about your injury and about how you plan on getting through it.
Oh my gosh. So it was honestly about a year-ish ago that I stubbed my toe on a couch.
Okay.
And you know, it was growing out. It was ugly, but I can deal with ugly if it's not painful. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it'll grow out, growing out, growing out.
Yeah.
And my dear son the other day stepped back on my toe, and I just went, now that's a new pain. I was dealing already with something else, but this is a new pain. So I went to the doctor, and I'm thinking he's going to give me something over the counter, and I can get out of there. And it ended up being a whole procedure done.
Wow.
And so he's like, your shoe game is over for a little while. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's the holidays. No, you can't cancel a female shoe game during the holidays.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
So we're going to get through it with happy socks.
Okay.
I've decided to invest in happy socks.
Okay. And you know, that is so wonderful. And that's the reason I love you so much, because I mean, you are truly, I mean, I think that I can roll with the punches, but you really have found a way to, I mean, it's so cliche as to make lemonade, good tasting lemonade out of those lemons. How do you do that and stay so positive and so happy about stuff?
Oh my gosh.
Even when you can't wear fancy shoes during the holidays.
And I think that in life you have to, like you gave the analogy with the lemonades. I think you have to figure out, okay, where is the sugar?
Yeah.
Where's the good thing in this life? And let me add it to this, and let me stir. That's what I'm doing now. I'm just stirring it all together and hoping that it comes out and tastes right. But you have to find a place in life where you can celebrate the small things. Everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to make this milestone and this milestone.
Yeah.
And I tell people, how is a milestone first measured? By the inch.
Yeah.
And so in my life and in my house, we celebrate what I call inch stones.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's this measure is this big, but in our lives it's this big, because it's the small things that are going to keep you going, I feel. So learn to, so we stubbed the toe. Who didn't put happy socks on their list now? Their Christmas list. I want them.
Exactly. So there you go. And you know, last week we actually had Dr. Erica Strickland Parker, and she is a behavioral psychologist at Behavior Associates. And we talked about dealing with mental health and stressors through the holidays from strictly I guess a clinical perspective.
Yes.
But you're here today, and I would love for you to talk about it and put things in layman's terms. When you got to go to that relative's house that you hadn't talked to all year long, they've invited you for dinner. You can't go because your husband go kill you if you say you can't go or they can't come. And then you're expected to bring a gift, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with this person. Why do I have to do this?
My
From put it in layman's terms, because you can do that.
You know what? I honestly have what I've called before, and I've written about it before, an emotional budget.
Okay.
A list. Just how people go into the holidays. You go into a certain store and you say, I've got $100 to spend here.
All right.
And no matter else what comes at you, you're aware of your budget, so that you don't throw other things out of balance.
Okay.
And so if you know that a certain person, there's a struggle that you're going to endure to have that conversation with them, mark your time. Say, I've got X amount of minutes to spend here with this. Because anything outside of that might tend to throw you out of balance. And
Okay.
you know how those little transactions work?
Yeah.
You know how if you're overspend by $4, the fees are always
Yeah,
more
yeah,
than
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
original
yeah.
$4?
Yeah.
That's what I think emotionally we do sometimes.
Yeah.
We end up bouncing so much stuff.
Wow.
And because we're not aware of our balance. So you know that maybe this person's going to cause you to spend a little bit more emotionally. Stay in touch with your balance and say,
Yeah.
you know what? I've honestly given you the hello, how are you doing?
Yeah,
Hope
yeah,
life
yeah,
is
yeah,
good,
yeah.
and move on.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Move
And you
on.
know, that's so interesting because when we had Kimberly Basil talking about dealing with the holidays from a healthy perspective in eating, one of the things she said was, remember the reason you go to visit the relative. It's to visit, to fellowship, you know. So I
Yes.
wonder how that can play into even the times when we may have tension.
Yeah, no, I hear exactly what you're saying. Since you brought up food, I have a dear friend who knows good and well that he cannot tolerate onions.
Okay.
And no matter how good or whatever it looks like, he
Ooh,
knows
no
that
liver
for
and
his,
onions or anything?
yes,
Oh,
for
gosh.
his system, that's a
Yeah.
no-no. Don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And I think if we would just become more aware of what causes us to break out emotionally,
Wow.
what causes us to go into hives or whatever the reaction is,
Yeah.
you would say concerning this person, I know that for me, I need not do this. I need not
Yeah.
engage for this. I
Yeah.
think you can always show respect,
Yeah.
always say hello,
Yeah.
always say how are you doing, but you know within yourself, you can feel when those emotional hives and something starts itching and
Yeah.
you know emotionally, and you just kind of go, well, you know what? I hope you're doing good. It's good to see you
Yeah.
again, and mean it. It's good to see you
Yeah.
again. Life is good. Good to see you again, and just move on. Just be aware of your balance as
But
you go.
but I'm playing devil's advocate in our last minute of this segment. So what when that person wants to, well, can I talk to you for a second? You know, what when you get put on the spot and someone wants to deal with whatever the issue is right then and there, what do you do?
Right. I think right then and there, you're staying aware of the moment and aware of the emotions that are rising within you. I think you stay respectful.
Yeah.
And then when you feel yourself being challenged by maybe staying respectful, you have to find a way to say, just politely excuse yourself. Well, I
Yeah.
see so and so. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go
yeah,
talk
yeah,
to them or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
The last thing you want to do is cheat yourself during this time.
Oh, yeah, that's
you know,
that's awesome.
I think that so you can kind of feel when it's beginning to shift and when it's
Yeah.
beginning to feel like it's too much.
Yeah.
And I think out of respect for that person you're talking to, and certainly out of respect for you, you have to be able to say, dismiss it, dismiss
Yeah.
the conversation and say, you know what, I hope to see you again, hope all
Yeah.
is well, and
Yeah.
and end it definitely before you start breaking out.
I know, and before I become bankrupt, overdrawn,
Exactly, over a
wasted
little
time,
transaction.
cheated myself,
Exactly.
all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay,
Absolutely.
and quite honestly, you can use that holidays any day of the week.
Anytime, create a word budget, create an emotional
I'm
budget.
only going to give you 3 words
You
today.
got-
Leave me alone.
Exactly.
No.
And that's it. And I stay in balance.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, listen. Serena's not going anywhere. I hope you aren't going anywhere. This is the girlfriend edition of Little Country Spotlight. We're going to be doing this a lot more often, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.